Recording in progress.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Ooh, Miss Rusty. What is up, everybody? It is Thursday. And I'm going to be having two shows today, if not three, probably two, though. Welcome on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN, with other great shows, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is It with Lizzie, and Saved by the Ben, and sponsored by Fred Ben Savage as fuck, Stoneries Productions, Hypnosis is Great, Hardcore Comedy, and suckemup.org. So let's get right into it today. I have a special guest today, and that special guest today is Dr. Don Menge. And that I like saying doctor because that's fun. So who doesn't like hearing doctor?
My students call me Dr. Don.
Dr. Don. Okay. So I can call you Dr. Don. So I'll go with Dr. Don then for today.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. So I see you have a plethora of books in front of me.
Yes,
And
I have my own library.
Your own library.
My own library.
So what, I mean, I'm trying to stay away from what you probably answered a whole bunch of times. So let me get in this first. Okay, so when you got an idea for a book, where is that going? Do you carry around a notepad? Do you have a tape recorder? Do you have a typewriter? Do you use your computer, your phone? Do you have a chisel and some stone?
Sometimes it's a napkin and a restaurant.
A napkin in a restaurant. I forgot that one. Usually on there.
I have my books are based on my travels. So when I'm traveling, I normally know what I'm doing. Might want to write a book on. We do a lot of things together as a family. We go, especially over the pandemic. I have 3 children. They're all grown, and I have 6 grandchildren. So my children are really into camping. So they set up camping trips every month. So over the pandemic, we got to do lots of things. We went to the Grand Canyon and the Sequoias, and we just went everywhere. So I did a lot of things during that time. I caught up on my books. I had kind of a little goal for myself that I was going to publish a book a year when I started in 2008. And of course, things happen, you get busy. So during the pandemic, I caught up and published about 5 books. So now I'm catching up on the things I'm doing now. So in October, I went to New England and saw the fall colors. We went to Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. I have an occupational therapist that was in my classroom, and then she stayed with me for a while. She was from Maine. So when we went there to see the colors, we spent some time with her. She drove us all over Maine. I think we hit every inch of Maine that there is. And we even went to Stephen King's house, and he was actually outside, so we got to see him. And so we did a lot of interesting things. So right now she's finishing the last illustration for that one. So it has lighthouses and all the fall colors and some history. It's pre-K to first grade. So when we were sitting in a van, it was a photography tour. So there's only 7 of us. And I would take notes, not very many, mostly I take pictures and then take pamphlets or wherever we're going to. And I was using napkins and things. And the lady, she was the navigator. And she said that there was more colors than a box of crayons. So I said, can I use that for the title of my book? And so she let me use it. So it's called Queen Verminita Finds More Colors Than a Box of Crayons. And they are, if you've never been there, it's beautiful. It's so amazing. And so that one's coming out, probably it'll come out in the fall. And I got a lot of my ideas from just interacting with the people that were with us, and all of the people in the tour are in the books. And
Wow.
so I've done things where I went on trips, and I had my computer with me, and I was waiting in the airport for the airplanes, and I start writing my books. I've spread my illustrations out on hotel beds, just sort them out. It just matters where I am and what I'm doing, because on top of writing my books, I also teach K through 12. I teach moderate to severe disabilities. I have 12 to 22-year-olds right now. I lecture at the local university, our new teachers, and I mentor new teachers. And for a while, I was going to Sacramento like once a month and working on our testing. So I was very busy. So I was doing things in between everything else. So
Testing for what?
The state testing that our students do.
Okay,
So I
are
would
you
go
in
up-
California then? Sorry.
Yeah, so I would go up to
Okay.
Sacramento, and we would either create test questions, we would analyze them, all the different forms that the test has to go through. I've done all of that. It's really interesting.
I bet. And so what was open during the pandemic where you were able to go camping? I mean, I know a lot of places, for some reason, camping was shut down since, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but so I mean, you were able to go out and go camping still during that.
Yeah, we went, we go to a lot of the KOAs, so they're open. They just had different rules, like the pools, like they couldn't just go to the pool. You had to reserve the time, and only like your family was in the pool, which is actually, we really like that. After we got
Sure.
used to that, not being able to go whenever we wanted to. It was kind of nice being the only ones in the pool and things like that. But the KOAs were open. The national parks, we went to Zion, and
Sure.
like some of their bus goes up the canyon, and so some of the stops weren't open. So we didn't get to see all of it, and they only had so many tickets for the buses, but you could still camp. The deer still came in your campground. So we got to do a lot, like the sequoias. Some of the places were closed, but we could still drive through it, so we did a lot of that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that was an interesting time. And so you decided that you're going to get in a lot of writing and
Yes.
and creating. I mean, was there a time? So I've been asking this question. So when they say, "Hey, you can't go anywhere. You're here," did you? And so I mean, I assume then you didn't. I don't know. Did you have? I guess a couple questions then. Did you have online classes then, or was that something that was more difficult with working with students that needed extra help? How did that work out, I guess, first?
Well, when it started, I was actually in Sacramento. And when we're up there, there's teachers from different districts, and they were getting notified before we were. And everybody was like, what's going on? They were closing the districts down, and the teachers were up there. So I came back, and I spent one day in the classroom, and they said, oh, it'll be 2 weeks. And we didn't go back. And then 2 weeks turned into, almost 2 years.
Right.
So at first it was a shock, it was like, our students can't do this online. And we couldn't even go back into our classrooms to get the curriculum we were working on. We had to start from scratch and send these envelopes home. And I kept trying to send, I collected pine cones. I live in the mountains, collected pine cones and sent the craft home to make the birdhouses for the parents. It was really hard to think about what to do. And then when we got the hang of it, it worked out pretty good. And the parents had to be more involved. And I think that part was really helpful, because they saw more of what their child can and can't do. And, some were, of course, very active with their children, and then some weren't able to do that. But I just spent that time writing my books, and we actually did a lot We like to go up to the beach. So we drove up there. There was nobody on the freeways. There was nobody in the hotels. I mean, it was actually nice.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
Where did all these people come from? They need to go back home. You know,
Right.
one time we went to the beach and my friend from Maine was here. So we wanted to show her our beaches. And we stayed on a pier and we took my grandson. I think he was like 9, and you couldn't stop on the beaches. You know, they were actually, the lifeguards were actually like yelling at people. There was a lady there with a little baby and they were playing in the sand and they got yelled at. They had to leave. You could exercise, so you could walk. You couldn't stop. So we walked down the beach and my grandson swam in the ocean beside us and jumped around. So this is him. And this bird was there every day. And then this is my friend from Maine. And so we were walking along and there was a huge jellyfish right in front of us. So she starts doing this jig, trying to not step on the jellyfish. And she didn't, but this is her trying to jump over the jellyfish. So everything in my books is real people, real things that happen to us. And real, you know, this is a camping trip that we do every year at the beach. So that's what my books are about.
So are you doing the illustrations then too? Or is that somebody different?
No, not me. I met her at one of my book events, and when I lived in Atlanta, she lived a block from me, but she actually takes the pictures that I take from the trips and either uses one picture or a collage of pictures and creates the illustrations from the actual trips that we go on. And she's very talented in doing that.
Yeah. And so, with this being sort of something that's been going on, and I myself am a creator in a few different aspects. Where are you with ChatGPT and Midjourney and stuff of that nature, as far as with book writing or, you know, other stuff of that nature? Because I don't know, it's a hard thing for me. I'm kind of on both sides. I've spent tons of time doing a lot of things, making music. I can't draw worth a lick, but I mean, this thing could do it for me. Or writing, you know, being able to come up with stuff of that nature fairly, you know, a lot faster than I used to be able to. And where are you with it? What are you kind of seeing, and with how it's going to progress and where you are headed with it?
Well, when I started, it was just this one, and it's just basic calendar skills. I added my students to it. We did some plays, and then I decided to publish it. So I named it after my grandmother and I published it. And that's all I was doing. I was done. Published my book. I'm done. I didn't think about marketing it or any of that. But the publisher did, and I got an award. And then I started getting interviews, and people started going, well, what are you going to do? Like, what's your next one? I'm like, there is no next one. That was it. And so from there, I started writing about my travels, and it's expanded into a whole career that is just building day by day. You know, every time I think, okay, then some other opportunity comes up. So right now I write book reviews for a magazine. I judge, I think, 3 literacy contests right now. I ended up being on the board of a nonprofit that gives books away all over the world. Oh gosh, I can't even tell you how much I do. Now I'm helping to market other authors. I've won over, I think I have to count again, but I think it's over 80 awards now. This series has won literacy awards. I have a couple of screenplays and entering them in film festivals. I'm winning. Yesterday, I won 4 awards. One was Paris, London, New York. I mean, they're all over the world. And it expands every time. I went to a craft place to make a wreath, just to have some fun, you know, for myself. And we started talking, you know, they're talking about their websites and what they're doing. And I mentioned that I write children's books. So she said, oh, I want to do something with the kids. And so she set up some events where I'm going to read my books, and we're going to make some kind of food for that goes with the book. We're going to do the astronomy one. And then she's going to have a craft. So we're going to do that the next 3 weeks. And so you never know. You never know who you're talking to or what you're doing, and it's going to just turn into something else. And then that will turn into something else. I went to a fan con a couple of weeks ago, and from there was a lady who had a little engineer cap on for like the railroad. And so I went over there to see, you know, what she was doing. And she has the first Polar Express in California. And I don't even think I have that book here. And so I actually wrote a book. During the pandemic, we went, it was before the pandemic, but we went during the pandemic too. But there's a train from the Grand Canyon, from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And then we went back, put our pajamas on, and we went on the Polar Express. So I wrote a book for that for Christmas. And I told her, oh, I wrote a book. And so she is going to put the book in her bookstore. And then she's going to create an event for that before the Polar Express comes in their place. And so I can't tell you where I'm going to go with this because it changes weekly.
Right. Well, what I guess I was getting at was with AI help and stuff. Where are you?
I don't use that. No.
You don't use that. I mean,
Not at all.
okay, yeah. I mean, because yeah, I mean, I see it a lot, and I know that it's kind of been starting to flood, especially the children's market, children's book market. There's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Have you seen any of it coming through? Or
I've seen a lot of, because I have a lot of the author groups on my Facebook, and there's a lot of people complaining about it. There's a lot of plagiarism, or they feel there's a lot of plagiarism. And but my illustrations come from my actual trips and my actual people in my life. So I'm never going to be using that because it wouldn't even go with anything I'm doing. I think people should be very careful about the plagiarism and making sure that they're using their own ideas.
right. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, there is using their own ideas, and like with that, and like with the pictures, usually it's or you know, any art, it's very difficult because what they're pulling from is you know, work that has been done before.
Yes.
And so it's not just coming up with stuff out of the blue. So
Right.
I mean, it's plagiarizing it in a way, and then and yeah, but I mean, yeah,
Kind of taking a shortcut.
right. Yeah.
I'm going to be creative, but I'm actually just going to use everybody else's ideas and put them together and then make it mine. That's not really being creative, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that was, I don't know, because I saw a thing, everyone's saying, oh, you should, you know, get on to, you know, the make money quick things of the internet, you know, get on to ChatGPT, start making a bunch of, you know, children's books and, you know, selling them on Amazon and all that. And then you have the pictures be made by it too. And yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And then like with music, I mean, I spent so much time making songs, and then I can type in just what I want. I want this at this beats per minute with this kind of sound, these instruments, and it comes up with something better than I can do in 30 seconds. And it gets a little frustrating. And or you know, jokes that I wrote 10 years ago, like give me new punchlines for my jokes. And that's just, it's a shortcut, and it's I don't know, sometimes it's easy to detect, but sometimes it's not easy. But then it's been one thing that I like to use it for, though, is for stuff like writing the description and for SEO stuff, because that's something I know zero about and don't feel like I'm stealing from somebody with that one. And I feel okay about it. And but I don't know, it's a whole new world, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where any of it goes, and who, you know, how people adapt and how people pivot and everything else. And So I mean, where are people finding your store, or you not your stores, your books, besides coming over to your library and knocking on your door and saying, "Hi, can I go to the Dr. Don library?"
I'm on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere online. Just Google Queen Vernita or my name or one of the names of the books, and they'll all come up.
Where'd
You know,
Queen
so they're
Vernita
pretty.
come from?
Queen Vernita actually is my grandmother. Her name was Vernita, so I named the book after her. And when
Okay,
she was alive, she would come to some of the book signings with us.
that's cool. So then you got to do that with your grandma and
Yeah.
have her be there. And so, and yeah, so she go on the trips with you and do
Yeah.
that as well.
She was a world traveler, and so she kind of got my mom into traveling the world. My parents had a sailboat, so they're very adventuresome. So my mom got me into traveling internationally, and I'm actually getting ready to go to Italy in a few weeks. I'm going to an author event with a woman I did an interview with during the pandemic. She lived in Jamaica at the time, and then she moved to Italy. So she's doing an author event. Going to go there, give a talk on how to create storytelling from your own life and be on a panel. And of course, see Italy. I've never been there, so I'm really excited about that. And there'll
Whereabouts
be
in
a couple
Italy?
of books about it.
Sure. Well, whereabouts in Italy?
It's out of Rome. We're flying into Rome, but it's out of Rome. It's in a small town. The name of the hotel is called the Domus. I can't tell you the name
Okay.
of the town itself.
So you're pretty inland, right? Correct?
It's going to be on the coast. There's a picture of the coast. It's on the
Okay.
coast.
I don't
So-
know my Italian geography very well, I guess.
I know. I accidentally made the airlines a day early, and she's like, "Well, you know, you're not supposed to come in till Monday." And I'm like, "Oh no!" So
Oh,
this morning I was
darn.
making the hotel room, and of course it's all in Italian.
Oh,
Know what any of this
So-
says?
right. So yeah, I don't know any days of the week in Italian, or I don't know much of Italian except I couldn't tell you enough. So yeah, so I mean, so I assume that's somewhere probably near the Mediterranean then.
When I go there, I will know.
and we'll see it in the book.
Yeah. Actually,
when-
that's a great idea, is putting the days of the week that in Italian and the things in Italian in the new
they
book.
can learn.
Yeah. So,
They can,
so see, you just gave me an idea for my book.
there you go. And I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? So I mean, yeah, if you can have both. Be like, oh, I don't know what Tuesday is in Italian, but in English it is Tuesday. What is it in Italian? I think it could be a good way, to get get a little extra learning in for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and for people when they go to Italy. So, Dr. Don, thank you so much for being on. It was great getting to talk with you and getting to learn a little bit more about your life here and everything. And I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and have a good rest of your day, and best of luck out there in Italy.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. All right, that was Dr. Dawn Menge. Check out her books. Get on the children's book train. If you don't have kids, you can still read children's books. Nothing wrong with that. It's a suggested age. And books are going to be helpful. You got James Holzhauer of Jeopardy fame. He would like to read children's trivia books, and that's how he knows a lot of the trivia that he knows. So children's books, they have some, it's not just for, a suggested age, much like board games, except for the ones that are, 3 to 99 or something like that. I think most are pretty much, and anyone can play whatever as long as they want and as much as they want. And it's okay. So thank you everybody for listening here. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and I will put links to her books and her pages in the show notes so you can check those out. And yeah, check out other shows on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, such as When the Gloves Come Off, This Is It with Lizzie, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast, and Saved by the Ben. And this is sponsored by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stone Reads Productions, Hardcore Comedy, Hypnosis is Great, and SockEmUp.org. And that is the show, man. Boom!
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?